I was browsing around for one of the most iconic retro devices when I happened to stumble upon a simple truth. Could it be that the original Game Boy that I came to love as a child wasn't as bulletproof as it may seem? I mean, Saddam Hussein couldn't even destroy this legend. So how could a bunch of former fruit roll-up addicts strung out on pixie sticks have a chance? I bet you could flush this thing down the toilet and it would laugh at you. So how did I end up with 4 working Game Boys that were deemed broken online? Were they truly broken? How did they fail? It all started when I bought 4 broken Game Boys that succumbed to neglectful owners. Their prices ranged from $25 to $40, and the first one I repaired off camera because I never owned one. Now this is the Game Boy that I repaired off camera so that I could get more familiar with the device. This one wouldn't power on due to corrosion. Simply taking out the terminals and soaking them in vinegar cleaned them right up. Oh yeah, and the screen probably felt the wrath of an angry child succumbing to nerd rage. We'll cover mods in another video, so let's move on and diagnose the other 3. Hold up, I think we can spot what is missing here. Despite the fact that it's the poster child for a tetanus shot, it's missing the grounded spring terminal. We'll set this one aside for later as this one won't be a quick fix. This Game Boy's terminals don't look bad at all. I'm confident that this will power on barring no one else has mucked with it. But what's this? Looks like we'll have to open this one up to investigate what the root cause is. Ooh! Nice. And finally, with our last Game Boy, let's see what's going on with it. While this amount of corrosion is concerning, I don't think it will prevent the unit from powering on. That LED is definitely signaling that it's not getting a solid power source. It seems the sound is also not coming through. Although the speaker might be bad, I suspect it's the mechanical headphone jack that's corroded. And it's a no-go for a quick win. I guess we'll have to investigate it further. The first order of business is to rule out if the speaker is bad. We're going to be transferring the front half of this device to another Game Boy with a proven headphone jack. And it's just as we suspected. There isn't an issue with the speaker. Well, I think the issue is corrosion. Let's try some IPA and see if that will solve it. I'm actually surprised this even worked. Let's clean up the rest of the board while we have it out. Not my best work, but it's a ton better than how we received it. Unfortunately, after cleaning the board up, our headphone jack decided to act up on us. Time to get drastic and make sure it never misbehaves again. While some people like to use contact cleaner, my go-to for these kind of jobs is white vinegar. A couple hours in there and they'll be as good as new. Just make sure to go over everything with some IPA afterward, especially if you use salt to speed the process up. This Game Boy won't power on for multiple reasons, so let's first remove the battery tabs. Just open the Game Boy up and use a small flathead screwdriver to pop the tabs out like so, or without the level of fail I invoke. These contacts are so pitted and corroded, I'll probably just use new ones. But let's clean them up anyway. And I think these pliers can receive the same treatment. Now this contact could easily be cleaned up with a little bit of flux and heat, but it's easy enough to desolder it and add it to the mix. If you want to remove rust from stained plastic, vinegar will etch that away. I'm using IPA just to sanitize the working area. After leaving the tabs in solution for a few hours, it's time to clean them up and replace the defective ones. For the main board, we just left a little solder ball in place and then pressed it to fit with a little heat. After final assembly, our Game Boy has a new lease on life. So, to attempt a repair on this Game Boy, we need to get it out of the case first. Detaching the front board from the shell and reattaching it to the main board, we can now have direct access to the LCD. Now this piece of insulation between the LCD and the ribbon cable needs to be removed for us to attempt our resurrection act. Try as I might, the dead vertical lines didn't respond to the heat treatment. Fortunately, I happened upon another LCD front panel with the same issue. While the last panel was completely unresponsive, this one seems to respond to the heat more favorably. While I first dragged the iron horizontally and messed with the verticals, circular motions seem to be more effective overall. If you have horizontal lines, you'll have to get creative with the heat gun because those connections are on the rear side of the LCD. And that about does it for this video. While most of these examples are anecdotal, corrosion on battery terminals is prominent for units that don't turn on. Next time, we're going to add third-party mods and compare them with one another. As is customary with this channel, I have no use for 4 Game Boys. That's why I plan on giving them to subscribers in the future. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. What have I done?